Hello, everyone. This year's first eclipse season commences on the 14th of March. I just had a workshop with my very advanced astrology group in London, where we looked at all four eclipses of the year. And this particular one is quite revealing, and we really looked at it in detail. So I'm going to show you as well, because you might actually learn a couple of things about it. What are eclipses? First of all, eclipses are the only phenomenon, astrological phenomenon or astronomical phenomenon that don't come in cycles, in repetitive, endless cycles. All the rest, if you look at planetary phases or star phases or anything, comes in repetitive, going on to eternity, really, until the celestial body is up there, it will have cycles, except for eclipses, which come in series. And even Chaldean priests and Egyptian priests and priests elsewhere, all over the world, who started to watch eclipses, they soon realized that they come in series. It usually starts with a tiny eclipse, or either on the north node or the south node, and is repeated almost completely by in its architecture every 18 years and 8 to 11 days, something like that. And in one series, there are approximately 71, 72 eclipses. And then when it reaches the opposite um, side, so if it started from at the North Pole, it will end at the South Pole and vice versa. And this takes about 1,300 years. So it's quite long. And as Bernadette Brady, who has a wonderful book on predictive astrology, The Eagle and the Lark, she dealt with the eclipses in a really detail. She said that the very first eclipse gives you the main hints of what this could be. And then you have 1,300 years to actually see what the eclipse is doing, how the eclipse is functioning, and what it brings. And in early times, they always were very afraid of eclipses, simply because, think about it, all of a sudden in broad daylight you have darkness if there's a total eclipse, total solar eclipse. Lunar eclipses weren't that dramatic. First of all, they were always at night, or early evening, or at dawn, and they took a couple of hours of total darkness. So actually, it was a gradual thing. So it wasn't so sudden and so dramatic than a solar eclipse. And if you look at what is happening psychologically, a full moon is always a sun-moon opposition. So you can say that the two luminaries are illuminating each other. You are perfectly aware of your conscious and subconscious urges. But here, what happens is that the Earth's umbra is slowly covering the full moon, the face of the full moon. And what is the Earth? The Earth plane, it is your bodily senses and bodily pleasures. So that is kind of taking over the conscious and subconscious urges. Quite funny. Let's take a look at the London chart, which the total lunar eclipse will be exact at a little bit before 7 o'clock at 6:45 London time on March 14th. And as you can see, Aries is rising in the London chart with the Venus-Mercury conjunction. Mercury is slowing down because it is quite ready to turn retrograde as well. And as you can see, the Sun-Saturn conjunction is very tight, but it's already separating, and so is the Neptune North Node conjunction, which is doubly separating because the nodal axis goes backwards and Neptune goes at the moment forwards. And the Chiron Aries conjunction in the first house is getting tighter, but it will take months before it will be exact. And this Chiron Aries is this year's most important karmic astrological placement or aspect. Chiron is our karmic wounds. In Aries, it is linked to all kinds of aggression, violence, wars, pain, fire, all kinds of things, all kinds of radically painful and destructive things. And Aries means drastically altered outward circumstances. And if you look around, you can see that the whole world is going mad. If you watch this from England, your very own prime minister is getting crazy. He is now raising money for, and he is ready to go for to go on war. And I'm always laughing in a way. We could laugh if it wasn't that sad. That all of a sudden the whole European committee wants to wage war against, I don't know who, Russia probably. And I just want to know how much money do they want to spend on it, and who is going to fight, and what are they going to fight with? Because they gave all the weapons of Europe to Ukraine, and frankly, I don't really see the men nowadays, the boys and young men who are willing to fight for who? They don't even have proper countries anymore. So that's quite a sad thing in a sense. Okay, so this is the chart, of course, and as you can see, Venus Mercury are rising, which is the Venus Mercury conjunction is a very prominent placement in this series. You will see why. Here's the original chart placements. This comes from Bernard Brady's wonderful book, The Eagle and the Lark. And as you can see, Venus and Mercury are also conjunct in that particular chart, which was the start chart was on August 21st, 1664. And it will end in 2908. So that's what you can see how long these series can be. Actually, what she says about that there is a Venus-Mercury conjunction, which is on the Mars-Pluto midpoint, which is quite violent, and Mars is on the Uranus-Pluto midpoint. So what you have here is Venus-Mars would be, Venus-Mercury would be a nice placement simply because it means that you can talk in a nice way, or you can use your words for creating harmony. But it is on the Mars-Pluto midpoint, which is always about violence. And then Mars is on the Uranus-Pluto midpoint, another violent midpoint, because Uranus is always upheavals and drastic changes, violent changes, freedom urges, and then Pluto, of course, is power and transformation. And this is what she says about it. This is a very physically excessive Saros series. Accidents, great physical effort, violence, or any sudden physical events. These can be experienced positively as, for example, the first time snow skiing, or it can be felt negatively in terms of accident and so on. I would add probably the war and any kind of violent actions in the streets. And if you look around in Europe, this is what you see. You see protests all the time. The approach to take when this series is affecting a chart is not to hide away, but to undertake some physical activity with an ever watchful eye to safety. So here's what Bernard Brady says about the series. And here's the eclipse part. And as you can see, it will be partly visible or actually observable, I would say here, but actually it affects the United States and also South America, practically, and some parts of Asia, and some very tiny parts of Australia as well, and Africa and Western Europe. Okay, this is one of the main features in the London chart as well, and probably elsewhere, because if there are no angles included, the planetary placements are going to be the same everywhere. So there's the Saturn-Sun conjunction opposite the Moon. And as you can see, Uranus is trining the Moon. So there's a very beautiful Earth trine, and at the same time, sextiling the Saturn-Sun conjunction. And there's also this tension is not just dissolved by Uranus, but also by the Chiron Aries conjunction, creating a little angel wing. And actually, the angel wing is created by the Sun, Aries, and Uranus, and Chiron and Saturn are just drawn into the energy pattern. If we look at the transcendental celestial objects, as I often say, but if you are here for the first time, you might not know it. There are three major groups of transcendental celestial objects. The first group is which is labeled in magenta. These are the asteroids. Asteroids are orbiting in the asteroid belt, which is between Mars and Jupiter, the last personal and the first destiny planet. So the asteroids are kind of linking the personal to the destiny energy, and they are showing your personal karmic past. Blue ones are trans-Neptunians, which fall into many astronomical categories like TNOs, trans-Neptunians, SDOs, ETNOs, all kinds of other stuff, and of course centaurs. We in karmic astrology just label them centaurs for easy reference, just like when we say planets, and of course the sun and the moon are included, although they are not planets, they are luminaries. But this is easier for us to reference them. Centaurs describe your karmic wounds, and these wounds can turn into special traits, and usually they do, but at the same time they also can turn into phobias and fears and scares and all kinds of other negative stuff, and usually we have both. And your special traits and ingeniousness often comes from the fact that you could conquer or overcome some kind of phobia or some kind of hardship. So you have both usually in a chart. And then the red ones, and you have here Capulus and Markab, those are fixed stars. Stars are not in the solar system. They don't orbit the solar system. They are universal energies. These are higher dimensional worlds. They are impossibly far away, and we can still see them. So they are transcendental both in time and in space. And these represent higher dimensional worlds where the human soul, which is a higher dimensional entity, can go and learn things and can use them as a sanatorium to kind of get healing after a really difficult physical existence. Or if you will if you're going to have a very difficult lifetime here on Earth, you might learn there ahead of time and prepare yourself. So those are the fixed stars. So as you can see, we look at fixed stars very, very differently from traditional astrology because they have all kinds of negative connotations. If you look at them, like this brings blindness, and that brings hanging and whatever. And this, I think, is a total misunderstanding of what fixed stars represent, simply because if you want to understand them rationally, you won't be able to. That's the problem. The same thing is happening or was happening to the outer planets when they were spotted, and then they were trying, astrologers were trying to assess them, how to delineate them. And of course, when you get the negative side of Uranus, it's upheavals and all kinds of violent actions and chaos. But of course, when you go up there, you get these flashes of inspiration. Same with Neptune, that if you drag it down to the earth plane, you get drugs and drug abuse and alcoholism and all kinds of stuff. But if you go up there, you get the inspiration. So that's what fixed stars are there for. So if you look at this chart, the moon doesn't have any. Saturn has trine Hiavako, which is an Irokese creator god who created agriculture. So it gives you the new era god type. I always say that there's the creator goddess, which is always the goddess, of course, who created the universe. And then there are, in different ages, there are gods and goddesses who created that particular age. And Taharan Hiawako is such a god, a creator god, which is on Saturn now. And on Sun, you have Giza, of course, the pyramids, and Osiris, the lord of the underworld for Egyptian mythology, and Markab, which is Alpha Pegasus, and the flying horse energy, and it represents ideas that are flying out of your head. and the brilliance of the human mind. On Chiron, you have Circe, the sorceress who turned men into swine. Iris, the Hera's personal messenger, of course, the rainbow, and Phaeton, which is one of the cataclysm asteroids, complete destruction. And on Eris, you have Hermes, who is the Greek counterpart of Mercury. And on Uranus, you have Lempo and Capulus. Uranus has been traveling with Lempo for quite a while. Lempo is the Finnish creator god who later on in Christian times was turned into a demon or into a negative figure. And this happens most of the time when you have a new era. The old gods are usually turned into demons and destructive forces. And Capulus is the nebula it's the point, the sword or the hilt of the sword of Perseus, and it is a masculine mystery school where people learn how to be masculine. That's on Uranus. And there's also an Archer configuration. My colleague Emesha, we are teaching at Clearbrook College together, she coined the term Archer for this particular configuration, which is made up by a quindecilla, which is 165 degrees, and describes either obsession or ambition, and the quincunx and the semi-square. The semi-square is a mild tension, and quincunx is always about karmic issues. And here we have a very powerful and disruptive Mars Pluto quindecilla. So again, the Mars Pluto energy is echoed in this particular chart, just like in the start chart of this series. And so there's this drastic, I want to win, I want to conquer you energy there. And Astrea is karma breaking and destiny changing. With the semi-square to Pluto and quincunx to Mars, this is what we are attempting to do to change the present energy and the present karmic issues. And if you look at the transcendental celestial objects, on Mars, you have Archimedes, the Eureka moment energy, so something that this inventor or mathematician realized, and Vasat, which is the elbow of the twins, the celestial twins, and it is a world where we learn to make decisions, serious and life-changing, life-altering decisions. And on Astrea, the karma breaker, you have Memphis, the seat of power in Egypt. And on Pluto, you have Gorgo. It represents the Gorgo sisters, who are in Zeus's time the last group of completely free and ancient feminine energy. They carry the completely free and ancient feminine energy. And Ginevra, who is the wife, and Hebe, who is the young girl. She was the goddess of youth. So Pluto, which is power and transformation, has three very distinctly different feminine archetypes. Okay. And these are the midpoints. I don't know why anyhow, it doesn't matter why. Probably I have the Hungarian, but the midpoints is midpoints, so I don't know why it is underlined. Anyhow, so these are the midpoints in the London chart, and the Elsewhere is there because these are planetary midpoints. On Jupiter, Pluto, we have Venus. Jupiter, Pluto, by definition, is the super success midpoint. It's very important. It's very important that even in aspect configurations or aspects, Jupiter, Pluto is the jolly joker. It's the all-in-one or all-in aspect, because Jupiter enlarges everything it touches, and Pluto behaves like nothing is ever enough. And with Venus, it's of course money or harmony, the greed by which the European leaders are trying to break out this war is really revealing. The Neptune Chiron is an interesting midpoint because it is one of the so-called Cinderella configurations, Cinderella energies. It means that I behave in a way that I know that you are my only chosen person, if you look at the Cinderella story. So the glass slippers are only good for your feet and nobody else's. But it also means that Chiron is always moons, and Neptune is always uh, all kinds of idealistic things. So it means that I know I will be hurt, but I just want to do it for some idealistic, esoteric goal. And of course, Mercury gives you the rational viewpoint. And then Venus Saturn is always about well, in an aspect configuration or aspect. It usually Judy Hall always said that Saturn Venus is inherent unlovableness, and certainly if it's a bad aspect, a square or opposition, this is how you feel. But as a midpoint, Saturn Neptune, Saturn Venus gives you the fundamental monetary or harmony base. And this is through Neptune, which is the higher octave of Venus. So these are the midpoints. And happy full moon. Be careful because this is a violent full moon eclipse. So all kinds of violence can erupt. Be careful and be safe. Happy full moon. Thank you for listening. Bye bye.